Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take one source, one really thought-provoking piece, and unpack it for you.
Get right into the detail.
Exactly. So today, we're plunging into an article from Mother Jones called The Plainclothes Goon Squad.
Quite a title.
It is. And our mission here is to explore how an unofficial uniform, as they call it, can be way more than just, what someone wears. It seems to reveal a lot about power, about perception, and it even draws some pretty fascinating, maybe unsettling historical parallels.
It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? Like, what are officials actually communicating with how they look?
Yeah.
Intentionally, or maybe even unintentionally. How does something like clothing become a deliberate tool for an agency?
It's not just clothes for clothes' sake.
Not according to this article, no.
And the specific incident that kicks off the whole piece is really something. So picture this.
Yeah.
You have New York representatives Jerry Nadler and Dan Goldman.
Okay.
They're trying to get into a federal facility, and they're met by an ICE official, William Joyce. He blocks them.
Blocks federal representatives.
Blocks them. But it's how he looked. He wasn't in some crisp uniform or a suit. The article says he was in a short-sleeved novelty shirt emblazoned with a large Guinness toucan.
A Guinness toucan shirt. Wow.
Yeah, unbuttoned, hands in his pockets, adopting this faux hapless position is how the article puts it.
Okay, so very casual. Aggressively casual, maybe?
When they ask why they couldn't enter, his response, and this is a direct quote, was, "We're not going to do it because we don't have to."
Just, wow! Flat out.
Right. A government official talking to federal lawmakers and just seemingly zero concern for basic professionalism. That encounter really sets the stage, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's jarring. And the article argues this isn't just, one guy having an off day.
Right.
It suggests this is part of a pattern, a distinct unofficial uniform or aesthetic that's become common among agents doing this kind of work. It points towards something deliberate.
So this aesthetic, tell us more. How does the source describe it? What does it actually look like?
Well, it paints a very specific picture. It's called pedestrian, but specific in its register of American broiness.
American broiness.
Yeah, like you might imagine a puff-chested dude in a graphic tee, or maybe even a divorce seething with low-hum aggression as he walks into the vape store. That's a direct line.
Vivid.
And Hamilton Nolan, another writer, apparently described it as looking like the types of people who open carry handguns to go to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Okay, so it's a very recognizable type, or at least the article argues it is, intentionally unrefined.
Almost aggressively so, yeah.
And this accessible masculinity, as the article puts it, gets linked to something, well, much darker. It calls it the aesthetic of the new institutionalized terror in our burgeoning $200 billion police state.
That's a heavy claim.
It is. It even says these agents look like guys who roam around America's dead malls. So, okay, beyond just the look, what's the point? What function does this serve, according to the article?
Well, the argument is that this bro-ish look isn't just coincidence, it's actually a tactic. It helps create what the source calls powerful obscurity.
Powerful obscurity. How does that work?
It means they can sort of blend in, but also project this subtle threat. It sows fear and confusion, makes it harder to hold specific agents accountable, especially if they're also using facial coverings or unmarked cars.
So visible but anonymous at the same time.
Exactly. Visible and unidentifiable. It's a potent mix if you want to dodge responsibility.
That idea of being unidentifiable but still threatening, it brings up some historical parallels mentioned in the piece. Can you talk about the academic Chris Ravetto-Biagioli?
Yeah, this is where it gets quite chilling. Ravetto-Biagioli wrote a book, The Unmaking of Fascist Aesthetics.
Okay.
And she draws a comparison between these descriptions of ICE agents and the Nazi-era Sturmabteilung, the SA, or brown shirts.
The brown shirts?
These were, paramilitary groups, often unemployed men, ex-soldiers who basically terrorized German towns, caused chaos, used violence.
And what was their look?
Ravetto-Biagioli says they looked like rabble-rousers and drunks, or as she puts it, like bros, just angry men who felt disaffected by being on the losing side of World War I.
So not a polished, disciplined look, more like disruption.
Exactly. And her key point is this, quoting her, "You don't know where they're from, you'd have any idea who they are, and they are given carte blanche authority."
Carte blanche. That phrase again, that lack of clear identity coupled with power. That's the unsettling part.
Precisely. It suggests this aesthetic isn't just about fashion or personal choice. The article frames it as a small part of a much larger cultural project.
Okay, a larger project. What kind? The article says it's a larger repudiation of things outside the right's liking. Yeah. What sort of things are we talking about?
Well, the piece points to things like gender fluidity, increased visibility for transgender people, the Me Too movement, reproductive rights,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So the idea is that this very traditional masculine bro aesthetic is a visual pushback against those trends.
That seems to be the argument, yes. It contributes to what the article calls a hyperfocus on traditional gender norms. It's like the look itself becomes a statement within a bigger ideological conflict.
Interesting. The article also brings in Susan Sontag's famous essay, Fascinating Fascism.
Yeah.
How does that fit? Sontag was writing about Leni Riefenstahl, right? The Nazi filmmaker.
Exactly. Riefenstahl made those huge, visually stunning propaganda films for the Nazis. And she famously said, "I am fascinated by what is beautiful, strong, healthy, what is living."
Right, this sort of idealized, pure, strong aesthetic.
Yes. And Sontag's analysis was that these ideas of like cleanliness and purity and strength were central to how fascist power presented itself, how it appealed to people.
So how does the article contrast that with the ICE aesthetic we've been discussing? They seem pretty different.
Totally different. The article makes that point directly. It says, officers who reportedly pin down and punch immigrants may not conjure ideas of beauty to you and me.
Probably not, no.
But it argues, for someone like President Trump, ICE seemed to inspire a kind of reverence that mirrored Riefenstahl's fascination with strength. He's quoted praising agents as tremendous, great patriots showing incredible strength, determination, and courage.
Okay.
And the article connects this to what it sees as a broader MAGA cultural project trying to inject American life with this sense of virility, the strong, silent type, the cowboy archetype.
So this average guy, bro look,
Yeah.
the function is actually to make it seem normal.
That's the core argument, normalizing. The article literally asks, what better way to make a state crackdown look like an American reclamation, a project of the anti-government party, than to have cops dressed like an average guy with a gun?
It's about making something that could be seen as extreme feel familiar.
Familiar, approachable, maybe even relatable to a specific audience, yeah.
And that normalization seems crucial for recruitment, too.
Yeah.
The article mentions that despite morale apparently being at an all-time nadir.
Right, reportedly very low.
President Trump's plan for a huge mass deportation program would require hiring, 10,000 more officers, which a Republican spending bill apparently enabled?
A massive increase. And yeah, the article argues this everyday man image is really instrumental to ICE's recruiting.
Oh, so.
It quotes Allison Kinney, who wrote a book called Hood. She says it's a uniform that is accessible to anybody so that any person can feel like they can become an ICE member.
Ah, so it lowers the barrier, makes it seem like, hey, I look like that guy, I could do that job.
Kind of demystifies it in a way, makes it seem less like a specialized force and more like just guys. Reinforces that normal vibe.
It makes me think of that other historical comparison the source brings up, the Ku Klux Klan hood.
Yeah, that's another really stark one.
Obviously, today that hood is just pure terror. But the article points out that back in the day, some defenders tried to frame it very differently.
How did they frame it?
As basically harmless fun, like good old boys engaging in play. It quotes a Georgia state representative from 1871, John Harrison Christie. And he apparently defended it as just mischievous boys who want to have some fun, go on a masquerading frolic to scare the Negroes. He added, but they do not interrupt them, do not hurt them in any way. Stories are exaggerated.
Chilling, reframing something terrifying as just boys being boys, essentially.
Exactly. And that alleged disconnect between the normal or fun image and the reality of the actions. The article suggests we see that with ICE too.
Right. This normal guy image clashes pretty hard with some of the behaviors the article describes. It talks about the cruelty reported in ICE's harassment of immigrant advocates.
Like what kind of actions?
Things like reportedly shoving volunteers, locking people in elevators, threats, even sexual harassment. And the source also mentions how the Trump administration used public notices and memes that seem to portray this project of horror, as the article calls it, as very enjoyable. It brings up that El Salvador mega prison meme as an example.
Right, presenting it almost like entertainment.
Yeah, a very disturbing framing.
The article also includes some deeply disturbing allegations of abuse against detainees. It cites a 2018 New York Times account from a woman named Maria.
Yes, that part is extremely difficult to read.
She described being assaulted by a male guard. She said, and I'm quoting directly here, "He grabbed my breasts, he put his hands in my pants, and he touched my private parts. He touched me again inside the van, and my hands were tied, and he started masturbating."
It's just horrific.
And the source voices serious concern that, with efforts by Republicans to shield ICE from transparency, the opportunity for sexual assaults is skyrocketing.
That lack of accountability again. It's a recurring theme.
It is. And this whole narrative of normalcy, virility, even image, it seems to involve figures beyond the agents themselves. The article discusses Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
Right. How does she fit into this aesthetic analysis?
The article highlights her, quote, literal face prioritized by Trump to help sell his brutal immigration policy.
Okay, so using her image.
Yes. And then it brings up an incident where Representative Anna Paulina Luna defended Noem after some kind of violent encounter.
What did Luna say?
She said she's like the most delicate, beautiful, tiny woman, and then asked, what actual testosterone dude goes in and tries to break Kristi Noem?
Wow. Okay.
So the article interprets this as the woman's perceived beauty and delicacy acting as cover for the incredible cruelty of the men beneath her.
Ah, I see the connection.
And critics, like Senator Alex Padilla in this instance, are then implicitly framed as lacking testosterone. The article concludes, the same rules the boys' club prevail. It's all tangled up in gender, perception, and power.
It's a very layered analysis of how image is deployed.
Definitely. And the author brings it home with a really personal reflection. They mentioned growing up as a first-generation American, a kid of color in suburban New Jersey.
Okay.
And they say that reminders of being other almost always came from boys, creating this feeling that boys enjoyed a special permission to deploy such taunting.
That's powerful.
And the author asks this question, reflecting on that feeling, it was fun. Wasn't I having fun too? And connects that unsettling question directly to the kind of cruelty described in ICE's actions. Like, who is actually having fun here?
That really lands the core argument, doesn't it? That brings us right back to the thesis.
Yeah.
Which is, quoting the article again, ICE's aesthetics, the choice to look like a plainclothes goon squad, doesn't just help the agency keep its secrecy, it helps another mission to make it seem like this is all normal.
Because you know this guy.
Right, because you know this American man, and he might do bad things, but he isn't so bad, is he? And you're having fun, even if you're cringing, right? It's a really provocative endpoint about how normalization works.
So let's try to summarize the key takeaways from this deep dive for you, the listener. What we've really unpacked here is how a specific look, this casual kind of bro-ish aesthetic, isn't just random.
No, it's presented as a deliberate tool. A tool for power, for secrecy, and maybe most disturbingly, for making controversial actions seem normal.
And the article connects this look to all sorts of things. Historical parallels like the brown shirts, cultural pushbacks, political messaging. Yeah, it's complex.
And hopefully understanding these kinds of subtle visual cues, the messaging underneath the surface, helps all of us be a bit more critical about what we see and hear.
Yeah, to question the intention behind the image.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. If the goal of an aesthetic is to make something potentially terrifying look normal, what does that mean for us when we do recognize that average guy look, but the situation feels anything but normal?
How do we tell the performance from the reality?
And maybe, what responsibility do we have once we start seeing the potential implications behind just a surface appearance? Something to think.